A pastor saw this man sleep while he's preaching, and what he did next shocked everyone. But first, like this video, if you love my wedding rings. Now let's proceed. Once upon a time in the quaint town of Harmonyville, there was a small church known for its vibrant community and heartfelt sermons. The church was led by Pastor Samuel, a kind and wise man who had a unique way of connecting with his congregation. One Sunday morning, as the sun cast a golden glow through the stained glass windows, the church was filled with the soft hum of hymns. Among the congregation was Mrs. Clara, a devout lady known for her dedication and punctuality. She always sat in the front row, her eyes fixed on Pastor Samuel, absorbing every word of his sermons. However, Clara had noticed something that troubled her deeply. Every week, she would see a few members of the congregation nodding off during the service. It irked her to no end. How could they be so disrespectful? She decided it was time to bring this to Pastor Samuel's attention. After the service, Clara approached Pastor Samuel with a determined look on her face. "Pastor, may I have a word with you?" she asked. "Of course, Clara. What's on your mind?" Pastor Samuel replied, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. "Pastor, I've noticed that some people are falling asleep during your sermons. It's quite disrespectful, don't you think? They should be paying attention to the Word of God, not dozing off," Clara exclaimed, her voice tinged with frustration. Pastor Samuel listened patiently, nodding thoughtfully. "I understand your concern, Clara, but let me share a story with you." Clara's curiosity was piqued. She loved Pastor Samuel's stories. They always had a way of revealing profound truths. Many years ago, Pastor Samuel began. There was a young man named David who attended church regularly. David was a hard-working farmer, toiling from dawn till dusk to provide for his family. Despite his exhaustion, he never missed a Sunday service. However, he often found himself struggling to stay awake during the sermons. Clara listened intently, wondering where the story was leading. One day, the pastor of that church noticed David nodding off, and decided to speak with him after the service. "David," he said gently, "see that you are often tired during the sermons. Is everything all right?" David looked embarrassed and replied, "Pastor, I work long hours in the fields, and by the time I come to church, I'm exhausted. But I don't want to miss the service because it gives me strength for the week ahead." Pastor Samuel paused, letting the words sink in. Clara's expression softened as she began to understand the point of the story. The pastor realized that David's presence, despite his fatigue, was a testament to his faith and dedication. He decided to make a small change. He shortened his sermons slightly and included more interactive elements to keep the congregation engaged. He also encouraged the community to support one another, understanding that everyone had their own struggles. Clara nodded slowly, her frustration melting away. "I see, Pastor. Sometimes we don't know the burdens others carry." Pastor Samuel smiled warmly. "Exactly, Clara. It's important to approach each other with compassion and understanding. Instead of judging those who fall asleep, perhaps we can find ways to support them and make the service more engaging for everyone." Clara left the church that day with a new perspective. She decided to take action, not by complaining, but by contributing. She started a small group that met before the service to share coffee and breakfast, giving the congregation a chance to wake up and connect with each other. She also suggested incorporating more interactive elements into the service, such as group discussions and singing. Over time, the atmosphere in the church began to change. The congregation felt more connected and engaged. Those who had struggled to stay awake found themselves more alert and involved. Clara's initiative had brought a new sense of community and understanding to the church. One Sunday, as Clara sat in her usual spot, she noticed something beautiful. The very people she had once been frustrated with were now actively participating in the service. She felt a sense of joy and fulfillment, knowing that she had played a part in this transformation. After the service, Pastor Samuel approached Clara with a smile. "You see, Clara, sometimes a small change in perspective can make a big difference. Thank you for your efforts." Clara beamed with pride. "Thank you, Pastor, for showing me the way." And so, the little church in Harmonyville continued to thrive. Not just because of the sermons, but because of the love and understanding that bound the community together. Clara had learned that true faith wasn't just about listening to the Word of God, but also about living it through compassion and action.